Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we're going to take a look at another GoBot review. This time around, it's the Renegade robot, Tux. Now, Tux would come into the market in 1985, and he would stay on the shelves for about a year, disappearing in 1986, sometime before the toy line would be discontinued. Bring Tux a little closer here so you can get a good look at him. He's got a rather unique looking robot mode, especially when you consider looking at his head here. A nice chrome head with a chrome top hat. So it does make him a bit more classy, if you will. And yeah, again, you got a lot of the vehicle kibble visible, but that was common on a lot of these transforming robot toys. Transformers were no different. But this is one that's kind of unique in the sense of how much white that the toy has. I mean, yeah, granted, a fair amount of it is painted, like stuff here that's on his chest, because as you can see, the stripe down the center does have a bit of paint wear on it. So that's again because the chest portion here is made of metal, whereas sections like his legs here, these are plastic. But all in all, if you keep it at a fair distance, it doesn't look too bad. As for articulation goes, Tux has the standard articulation for most GoBots his size. That you can rotate his arm at the shoulder all the way around. He does have a joint at his hips, so you can allow him to do a full splits. And there is a joint at his knees, but it basically allows his knees to bend like that. Oh, of course, he can also rotate at the hip. That's more for converting him than it is for anything else. One of the features I should point out before we start the conversion is that the wheels that he has here, these are rubber wheels. So definitely pay attention on loose samples to make sure they aren't cracked or broken. Because as you can imagine, finding replacement wheels for a toy this old would be a challenge. Okay, now let's convert Tux. First, to start off, we're going to put his arms straight up in a nice surrender pose. We're going to grab the grill here at his waist, use it to help pop his body free. Then we're going to wiggle his arms, slide down, that'll bring his head in. And then we will rotate it so the chest lines up with the windshield. And press the arms inward to hold it in place. We'll, of course, also at this point, fold down the grill. Now back here at his legs, I'm going to fold them out a bit and of course bend them at the knee so then we can rotate them around so the wheel's at the bottom and then fold them back and shift them so they cover the waist. And just press them together gently. And then there we have Tux's alternate mode is a limousine. Or at least that's what the package has always labeled it as. Which, while it does give some look of a limousine, it is listed instead as a Rolls-Royce Phantom 6. So we got ourselves a rather beautiful and classy looking car. Something that was not very common amongst either the GoBots or the Transformers. So, kind of the more than meets the eye thing for the Transformers. Well, maybe more the robots in disguise bit kind of works better here for Tux than it did for many of the Transformers, as Rolls-Royce would definitely be able to get into a few places that more of the sporty cars wouldn't be able to get near, so I kind of like this. Of course, in most cases, this particular model of Rolls-Royce is usually black in color, so this white one is a bit of an oddity, but I like it in white. I can imagine it'd look pretty sleek in black. But of course, not in this toy form, because we'd have to have a different color for the windows, of course. But again, minor problem. In the Japanese series, Tux here was more or less used as a hearse instead of as a limousine. So that adds a little bit of a creepiness to the toy, if you think about that. But I can see that working to some degree. I mean, it'd need retooled to look more like a proper hearse, but that I could see. That kind of works too. Of course, Tux here also did appear in the GoBots cartoon, but he was called Stretch, which apparently was the early name for the toy before they decided to settle fully on Tux. And I think Tux does sound like a better name than Stretch. Because, I mean, yeah, while they say he's a limo, calling him Stretch is a bit of a stretch, since he's not really that long to really be considered a stretch limousine. So I do think Tux works better. Now, as a toy here, he's got some nice rubber wheels, and oh, rolls very good, very, very good. And that moment ago where he went off to that side, he was headed off to the edge of the table. So, as you can see, he rolls pretty good. It's one of the few that's rolled very good on this table. So, very, very good rolling action on this toy. Now, of course, Tux here has no loose parts to speak of, save for, unfortunately, the rubber wheels here. They can be removed. I'm not going to do that on these because I don't want to take a chance of tearing them up. But the wheels do come off of him, so do always check those out to make sure he has all 4 tires if you want a loose version of Tux for your collection. And of course, as you can imagine, since he's a predominantly white-colored toy, he is prone to yellowing and other sorts of staining, so do be cautious of that. There is one other thing that I should mention from experience from my childhood, and that is the rear bumper. The rear bumper segments can snag on things and be inadvertently pulled off. So, do check for that as well if you do want a sample of Tux in your GoBots collection. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Tux? I have always liked Tux. I've always been fascinated by how the character looks. I mean, I can't really vouch for how he's been presented in the cartoon. I haven't rewatched enough of the episodes to see how he was portrayed in it, but I do imagine Tux being something of a more stylized criminal if we go by the original intent that the GoBots were filmed under. You could see him being one of the more higher class criminals, or even being one that leads his own small faction of renegade GoBots that does a bit more higher class crime than what you would expect out of most of the others. So it's just the air that he presents just by being the way he is like this. The toy itself, it's pretty good. I mean, the only real gripe I have with it is the fact that the paint does wear a bit here on the chest. Wears a little too easily, but it's not all bad. I mean, it's mostly bad where it connects at the hinge to the car, and of course the raised stripe down the center is where it's usually the worst, but if handled with care, it's not really that bad. His articulation, it's about par for the course. So nothing to really get excited about there, but the alternate mode of a Rolls-Royce, that's a nice, classy little car to have in the collection, and it is one that the Transformers never had, so that gives Tux a one-up against his competition. You had a really nice, classy car instead of being stuck with all these high-performance sports cars or something that barely passed for normal family cars. You've got a nice upper class and very beautiful looking car. So, in the long run, I'm going to put Tux in the top tier. So he's certainly a worthwhile addition to any transforming robot toy collector's inventory. It's not every day you get to see a Rolls-Royce become a killer robot. And I think Tux nails it right down to the end. And that concludes my review of the Renegade GoBot Tux. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up here on YouTube. Don't forget as well, hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and ring the bell so you'll be notified of all future video releases. Also, please consider sharing your thoughts about Tux in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.